And you should get that lovely notification. And all right, I will pass it to you, Kate.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. My name is Kate Haldeman, and I support our advocacy partnerships at Ciitizen Health. I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Mikkel, who supports all of our patient support and engagement activities at Ciitizen. And we are so excited. Thank you, Gabrielle and Jennifer, for having us today. So excited to be speaking with you and your community. And thank you so much for having us on. So today, we're going to provide a brief overview of the Ciitizen Health platform, the benefits to patients and caregivers like you, and the impact that you can have on important research for OCNDS with just taking 5 minutes to sign up. As part of the session, we'll also wrap up with a live onboarding demonstration that Mikkel will lead. So you'll have the opportunity to actually sign up alongside with us, with our expert resident onboarder, Mikkel here, if you'd like to actually get into the application and go along with us through the onboarding process. We'll also work in some Q&A along the way, and Gabrielle said she has already started to collect some of those questions. So feel free to use the QA feature in the webinar chat, and we'll start collecting those. And anything we don't get to today, happy to circle back on later on. All right, then let's dive in now. Okay, so first off, what is Ciitizen? If you haven't heard about us yet, no worries. We're going to go over the basics on the one-on-one, and then we'll get deeper and deeper and make sure we address all of your questions. So think of Ciitizen as a platform that enables patients with rare conditions really to get access to all of your medical data in one place and support critical research efforts into their conditions. To share a little bit more about who we are and why we are so passionate about improving the lives of people with rare diseases. Rare disease advocacy is in our DNA. So we're a team of caregivers, of advocacy leaders, of allies for patients and families living with rare and complex conditions. And we do understand the challenges and the complexities that patients and families face, and how the current healthcare and research environment, can often fall short for the rare disease community. So Amara, pictured on this slide here, is the daughter of our co-founder. She has FOXG1 syndrome, another rare neurological disorder. And she represents some of the complex requirements that many patients on our platforms face. And that includes over 50 seizures potentially a week, frequent hospital stays, 24-hour care needed. In summary, Amara, her family, and the entire rare disease community really deserve better options to inform their unique care needs, and easier ways to drive much needed treatment options and research that doesn't involve inaccessible travel and other burdensome requirements like site visits. Unfortunately, though, today's research and drug development environment does prove challenging for forwarding rare disease research. And what I mean by that is 95% of rare diseases have no treatment currently, right? 2.3 billion, that's a huge number, is the average cost of drug development. And it takes over 10 years to develop successful therapies, even if they make it that far, and many tend to fail. So what you can start to see with these big numbers is the traditional models for research fall short for the rare disease community. And that's because rare diseases are rare. It's difficult and expensive to run studies, even just to understand enough about the disease to begin the drug development journey. So in addition, and what I mean by those difficulties is, of course, it can take years to collect enough data. Rare disease patients are spread out all over the world. Traditional models of site visits to help understand the natural history of the disease don't work well when the population is so spread and so rare. In addition, participants then have to travel to the clinic for data collection, which is quite burdensome on families with rare conditions. And then lastly, it's expensive and difficult in general and overall to execute a study in rare disease, and often many of them end up failing. So while traditional models often require in-person site visits, and that doesn't lend itself well for the rare disease community, that then leads to the question, and the question we've asked ourselves at Ciitizen Health is, where else can we get this data to inform this much needed research to get started on drug development? A logical thought would be that there is incredibly meaningful data in the patient's medical history or the electronic medical record already, just from the care that they received. However, that data is trapped across all the various institutions where the patient has received care. So from genetic testing to various clinics and different electronic medical record systems that don't necessarily talk to each other, a patient's valuable health information is scattered, and there's no single view of a patient's health journey that could really help not only the patient and their care team, but researchers overall understand better the progression of the disease, which is critical to being able to do things like select the right endpoints for clinical trials and get drugs to market. So that is really what we at Ciitizen are here to change. And so how are we doing? What are we doing to change all that? Well, in a big picture way, Ciitizen is a two-sided platform with the patient at the center. So with the patient's consent, with the caregiver's consent, we collect and organize your comprehensive medical history from all sites of care, genetic data, medical records, imaging, surveys, claims. We're able to collect that all for you with your consent and give you the option then to share that with whomever you choose, from whether that's your de-identified data to inform research studies or providers for second opinion. The key is we put you in control with your own health data to help you make better informed decisions about your care, and if you choose, help power critical research efforts. Now, what does this look like in practice and how does it work? First off, we actually just launched a brand new onboarding experience, of which you'll be some of the first in our community to experience, which we're very excited to show you about today. But it only takes about 5 minutes to create an account to sign up. In the sign up process is where you'll, through the HIPAA right of access in the United States, essentially enable Ciitizen to go out and do all the hard work, step 2, to collect your comprehensive medical data and provide you access in your secure digital profile. From there, the data is yours. You control what happens with it. Again, you have an easy option with one click to share it with your care team, a provider with a second opinion, or to avoid repeat tests. And also, if you choose, we are able to summarize and harmonize all that disparate data, all the unstructured data in the clinical notes to make it research ready, if you will, to inform important research into conditions. So if you choose, you can consent to put your de-identified data stripped of any personal identifiers to help power important research into the condition. So what are the benefits in a more detailed way? Well, first, it's no cost, comprehensive medical record collection from all sites of care from birth until today. So you have a full longitudinal view of your health journey. Then participants get access to all the medical records like never before, and the ability to share them with whomever they choose. And again, that choice to put the de-identified data towards research. I will also add that this is all completely digital, no extra site visits, no extra questionnaires. It's one 5-minute sign up. We do the rest to collect that data for you to put you in control of your health journey and help power important research. What I want to add here is that your de-identified data, the data in your health record tells a very powerful story, not only for you. You can imagine every patient's journey is unique, and knowing that journey, knowing that progression, having those insights can not only inform your own care, but imagine collectively unlocking that for the entire community, the insights that can bring with just the medical record and all digitally collected without extra site visits. So that's really the value that we're driving home with Ciitizen, is to reduce the burden on patients, on community, by unlocking insights we already have. So that's the goal. I think there's a lot of questions probably about how is this data used for research? What is the value of research, and what kind of questions does that help to answer? So I'll go through that briefly right now, and we can always take follow-up questions. Okay, so how does Ciitizen help drive research? Data is incredibly important to help design clinical trials, period, and better clinical trials that are more efficacious and faster. So Ciitizen data can quickly and easily, because it's digitally collected, help researchers understand things like how to improve endpoint selection for use in clinical trials. If you can imagine, many researchers can spend even a dozen years just trying to understand the progression of the disease, what we call a natural history study, conducting in-person visits. But if we can accelerate it, or even sometimes skip that step with the digital data provided in the medical records, they can get to the point where they're able to design clinical trials a lot faster and a lot more easily. And our data really helps generally improve the understanding of the disease, how it affects individuals, and gives researchers something to work with to start to formulate hypotheses and start, really accelerating the drug development journey. So overall, the result of this is speeding up the time to get important treatments to patients. And again, all digital without patients leaving their doorstep, which is really the key value proposition for us. So what has this led to in terms of results? And what are some of the things that we have been working on and continue to support for the rare disease community? One case study that I like to discuss is that one of our industry partners, Praxis Precision Medicines, had an in-person natural history study. Again, that's what we were talking about earlier, where they were having folks with the SCN2A related disorder come in across the country doing site visits to understand the natural history and progression of the disease. That had been ongoing for 5 years. However, Praxis was sort of struggling to get enough data and the breadth of data that they were hoping for. So they thought that Ciitizen would be able to provide a greater breadth of data through the digital medical record and help fill in those gaps from their in-person study. Within just 6 months, we actually were able to have 4 times as many patients as were in their in-person study join the Ciitizen platform, and we were able to collect data that spanned over 10 years for those patients, all within 6 months. So our data not only had more breadth, but then it had more depth than the in-person study they were already running. So this just goes to show that how much valuable data is in the medical history and how digitally unlocking that can be so valuable for community and speeding up research. So with this data, we were able to do things such as show the natural progression of SCN2A, the burden of the disease, and inform selection for primary and secondary endpoints for the clinical trial design. And most importantly, this meant that Praxis did not need to wait for their in-person study to finish. They were able to use the digitally collected Ciitizen data to complete their IND, their investigational new drug filing, which is a very important regulatory milestone to get the go-ahead essentially for their clinical trial. So the impact more broadly is that it really represents the first exclusive use of patient-centric medical record platform in an IND or regulatory filing for rare disorders. This has paved the way for other rare cohorts to put their real world data, again, that's the data collected from the medical records, to use and to complement and accelerate drug development efforts. So through this partnership, this is one of my favorite sort of impact statements, is that we've reduced the time to treatment by almost up to 10 years for individuals living with SCN2A related disorders because of this digital natural history study we were able to support with Praxis and the SCN2A communities. So using real world data like this means that communities have more options sooner. It's not just in-person on-site visits. We don't have to wait for a 10-year in-person natural history study to finish in order to have data to start to design effective clinical trials. So that's, very big moment for us, exactly what we were hoping to do in partnership with the rare disease community. And just one example of how this has helped enabled rare disease research. In total and overall, we're building our I think the breadth of research that we've been able to drive in partnership with these communities. In less than 3 years, over 11 manuscripts and 25 abstracts. Essentially, these are publications in partnership with researchers, and these publications are necessary steps in the research and drug development process to understand the disease and then design trials in order to get drugs to market. So that's a very high level overview of not only what Ciitizen is, how we're trying to help patients and communities, and the research and impact that we've started to drive by unlocking the insights in, already in the medical records of many of your children and patients in the US with rare disease. So next up is going to be our onboarding session. So Mikkel is going to take some time and actually go through live with you all the onboarding process, and we'll take some time for questions. Let me just see, there's some Q&A coming in right now. Yes, Penelope, thank you so much for your comment. It is definitely faster to identify. The question or comment is, it's really exciting because it's so difficult for my child to travel, and also it will be so much faster to identify commonalities and symptoms, conditions. That's exactly right. Like we were talking about before, the current models really don't take into consideration the burden of rare disease families to travel to these in-person visits. So what can we do to reduce that burden and still make progress and drive insights for that data? So then in this next step session, we'll start to discuss how to get started. So this will be a few things you'll need to have on hand if you want to go ahead and participate in our live sign up walkthrough. And again, Gabrielle and Jennifer are recording the session, and we'll also provide an onboarding video that you can come back and watch at any time. It should only take a few minutes. You'll need your phone because you'll get some verification messages on your phone that you'll need to accept. You'll need to upload a picture of the front of your ID, whether you already have that on your desktop, or you can take a picture live with your phone right here today. And then you'll need to have in mind sort of a list of providers where your child or the patient has received care, because that will help us start to understand where medical records need to be collected from. So if you have those things around you, go ahead and start gathering them, start preparing them, and I will go ahead and hand it over to Mikkel to start to walk us through the sign up process. I'll leave this on the screen here for a moment too, and maybe Gabrielle, if I can chat this to everyone, but this is the community's, what we call the landing page. It's essentially your community's personalized front door to citizen onboarding. I'm going to chat in this link. I hope everyone can access it. You can go ahead and click it, and that's where you can see that green get started button here. That's where you'll go ahead and get started in the process that Mikkel will walk you through. So with that, Mikkel, I will hand it over to you if that sounds good.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. Hi, everyone. As Kate said, I am Mikkel, and I lead the patient support team here at Ciitizen. So I'm here to help you when you're onboarding. If you have any questions, even after you set up the profile, feel free. There's always a little chat feature on your Ciitizen profile. You can reach out to us by chat. You can reach out to us by phone and by email as well. So I'm just going to share my screen. And I have pulled up the landing page that Kate put in the chat feature. So feel free to pull that up and walk through this process with me. I'm going to click Get Started. Feel free to reach out at any time with any questions in the chat, and I will answer those as I go through the process. You're going to start with your email address. This is actually how you log into the profile. So it's your username is your email address. Your first name. So if you are creating this profile on behalf of your loved one, you actually put in your first name to begin with because you are requesting the medical records on behalf of your loved one. And you'll set up a password for yourself. It has to be 8 characters long, at least one uppercase letter, at least one lowercase letter, and at least one number. And choose continue. Right in this area, it tells you the 3 steps we're going to go through. So we're going to enter our profile information, then we're going to enter our health record information, and then we're going to identify our verification. So I'll choose continue, and you're going to choose if you are the caregiver or the patient. I'm going to choose that I am the caregiver and continue. And we're going to put in the patient's name. And the patient's date of birth. And continue. Where do you live? Inside the United States or international? I'm going to choose United States. If you are outside of the United States, you are able to set up a profile. We're unable to collect medical records outside of the United States. We use a HIPAA right of access at this time. So you're able to upload your own records and create a profile to use for yourself if you'd like. I'm going to choose United States and choose continue. Now we're onto the health record area. It's going to ask for baby's primary diagnosis. Once you start typing, the diagnosis will populate. You can choose the diagnosis, the year of diagnosis, . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . It's going to ask if you would like to share back with the advocacy group here. This is just, they won't see the entire record set. They're just going to see your identifying information that you've joined. You can share my information or decline. And now we're going to add your doctors. So some important providers to add here will be any providers that you see for the condition, like neurologists, any specialists, anyone that you see for your child's condition. It'll be important if you know the lab that performed the genetic testing, you can add the lab directly. Any inpatient visits are important to add. And you can add providers by health system. So you don't have to list each physician individually. If you're seen by many physicians within a large facility, you can add that large facility. They will most likely have a centralized medical record area. When we put in the record request, they will send all of the records for all the providers that you are seeing within that facility. If any medical records are missing, we actually have a triage team that goes through the medical records when we receive them to make sure there are no gaps in the medical records, or if we see one physician mentions that you were seen by a specialist and we don't have that specialist records, we'll actually reach out to obtain those records, or we'll reach out to you and ask, we had this gap in the records here. Who did you see in this time frame? And we'll reach out to make sure that we get that entire data set for you. We use the Google database as a search engine, so you'll find that it's very easy to find any provider that you're looking for. If there are many providers listed as for instance, Kaiser will have a lot of states listed. You can actually search by state, by city. It'll kind of narrow your search for you. If you are seen by or if your child was seen by a specific genetic lab, you'll be able to find the labs as well. You can add as many providers as you'd like here. If you can't remember them all at this time, you can always log back in the future and add providers. Now, this is asking if you would like to participate in medical research. When you donate the data to research, all personal information is removed. So anything that can identify your loved one is removed before the data is shared with research. So you're able to participate or decline. I will point out in this bottom left is the chat feature. So if you have any questions during the process, you can always click that and reach out. Someone's available 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time. And if we're not available at that time, you can leave a message and we'll get back to you the next business day. All right, so next is the identity verification. I'm going to start verification. First, you put in your cell phone number. It's going to send you a 4-digit code. Just confirming that you are a real person and not someone trying to steal someone's data. The text that you receive is instantaneous, a 4-digit code. You can always resend the confirmation code if you need to. If you accidentally added the wrong phone number, there's a little back arrow right here that you could put in the new phone number. It asks what country the government ID is from. You can choose if you're adding the driver's license, passport, state ID. I'm going to upload my driver's license. At this point, if your ID is saved on the device that you're working on, you can choose to upload a photo. If it is not saved on the device you're on, you can choose to continue on another device. When you click that, you're going to put in your cell phone number again. You'll receive a text message with a link that will bring you to take the photo of your ID directly from your phone. I'm going to choose to upload a photo because I have one saved here on my device. Choose this photo. The next step is the last step. It's actually signing. You'll sign on this line here. I know it's hard to do an electronic signature, but if you try to make it as close as possible to your actual signature, the facilities do compare it to what is on your driver's license or what they hold in their database, and then we'll finish registration. This is what the account looks like once it's complete. My health records is where the medical records will be once we've collected them. We collect the entire data set, including imaging, doctor's notes, everything. You also can upload your own documents here. You can add additional record requests. So you're going to see that these record requests are in the process of being created. You can ignore the invalid status at this point. They will be processed correctly. You can add any additional providers here. You're able to share the medical records, as Kate said, for continuance of care with any caregivers that you'd like. You can share them electronically. You're also able to download the medical records and share them yourself. And then if you need to change anything about your profile, it's all in this area here in this dropdown. And that is the onboarding flow.
Thanks so much, Mikkel, for walking us through that. Gabrielle, that was the content that we had planned for today. We wanted to make sure to leave time for questions from the community, or if anyone joined us in the onboarding flow session, if you have questions related to the onboarding. But I'll turn it over back to you to facilitate the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you both. We appreciate it. A question did come in. Thank you, Penelope. So Penelope has signed up. She's one of our parent advisory board members, and she has done the initial processing, and she's wondering in general, how long does processing take? Because she does have some requests that she put in May, and then she has a request where there was no imaging found for a provider that she knows there's definite imaging for, because she can see it in like the chart portal or whatever it is. So any information on that you might be able to provide?
Yeah, so the providers have 30 days by law to send us the records. They are able to ask for an extension if they're not able to process it because something's going on with their office. They're able to let us know that they can't get them to us within 30 days, and then they can ask for an additional 60 days. Penelope, I'm sorry, is that the name? Feel free to reach out to me in your chat feature or email, and I can look into those record requests directly to make sure that everything is going okay there. For the imaging, if a facility does imaging within that facility, we'll get those images. So many times a doctor will request imaging, and you'll have that done at a different facility. So if this is a provider that ordered imaging for you, and then you went to a hospital to have that imaging done, or a different location, those images would actually come from that location. But if you're requesting it from the physician that ordered it, that physician will send reports, but they won't actually send the images because they don't have the images as part of their record set that they can release. I'm not sure if the provider that you're seating actually did the imaging in the office. Please reach out to me and we'll follow up to make sure that that's received.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And one of the, I think, perks of going through Ciitizen is the ability to then share these records, right, as a whole with other people that they might want to. What does that process look like? And for example, could Penelope, as an example, share her entire record chart with me if I wanted to look through it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me share my screen one more time and pull up. Hopefully I have the profile still pulled up. Yes. So it's under share records, and you click here and you actually you enter the email of the person you're trying to share it with. And then you just create a share here, or you can create a link. So if you create a share link, it's actually a link that you send to that person. The person will receive an email letting them know that you have asked to share the profile with them. They will actually create an account as well. They don't go through the entire process like you do, but they create an account, and they're able to click through and they'll see the medical record set exactly how you see the medical record set. So they're going to see everything that you see. You're also able to share individual things. So if you want to share just an image with a provider, you can open that image and share just that image with a provider as well, without them seeing the entire record set or just a medical record.
Amazing. And for everyone watching, this also means if you go see a new specialist or a new doctor, you can share whatever you want from this account with them instead of, you or the new provider having to go request all the records from everywhere else because it's already been done.
Exactly. We can't tell you how many times we've heard that piece of feedback where, oh my gosh, thank goodness I don't have to physically carry around all of my records anymore. Or you can really jumpstart a provider's support for your care journey if it's a new provider by just click all the history to them before your appointment or really at the start of your appointment. It just makes it so much easier for the continuity of care.
Yes. And then Elizabeth in the chat said she started the process, but she's waiting for her child's passport to be renewed, and now she's forgotten her login info. So who can she get in touch with to make sure she can continue to access that profile?
Yeah, again, you can reach out. It's supports. I'm sorry. Yes, support us. Oh, you know what? I'll put the support email in the chat, or Kate, you can the phone number as well.
Oh, it went to the host and panelists instead of everyone. I see it here. Here we go.
Oh yeah, I don't think I'm able to
just
chat to
put
everyone.
Jennifer's
That's
account.
perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. So you can either email, call on Monday, or reach out in that chat feature. Again, it's going to be the email that you created the account under. Reach out if you don't remember that email. And there's always a forgot my password. So you can click forget my password and it'll send you an email to reset the password. I did forget to mention during onboarding that if your child is over the age of 18, we will need legal documentation proving that you have rights to collect medical records on behalf of your loved one. During the onboarding flow, you're able to skip that step if you do not have the paperwork with you. That would be guardianship, conservatorship, anything that you have, proving that you have the legal rights to collect those records. But we will send you an email to be able to collect that legal documentation if you skip that step, and we can't collect any medical records until we receive that documentation.
Good point. And then some other questions we've had come through, and we've chatted about this, are so this service is free. However, sometimes medical record places require payment, right, to get a bunch of records. How do you address that if that happens?
We pay that fee on the parent's behalf or the patient's behalf. Facilities are only able to charge a HIPAA compliant fee, a reasonable fee. So sometimes we may go back and forth. We might get some facilities that charge a larger fee, and we'll kind of make them aware of the HIPAA rights of families. If anyone happens to get an invoice from a provider, please reach out to our support team to forward that to us. We ask that they send the invoices directly to us, but once in a while they'll send them to the family. So anything that you receive from providers, please forward it to us. Providers also have the right to reach out to you, as they should, to confirm that this record request is a valid record request. So you may receive phone calls from providers to confirm that this is a valid request, just to make everyone aware.
Perfect. And then if someone's child is about to turn 18, should the child just sign up directly instead of the parent? If the child wants to
Yeah, if they have the decisional capacity to do so, they can certainly create their own profile. If your child signs up before turning 18 and then they turn 18, you'll actually receive an email from us very quickly, letting you know the information that we need to be able to continue to collect the medical records. We know that that takes time. So, we just kind of send an email. If you have it, please send it. If not, we'll continue to reach out once you have that paperwork. But yes, if they have the decisional capacity, again, that email will ask if your child has the decisional capacity or if you will continue to be in control of that patient's profile, and then we'll move the profile on from there.
Awesome. And then it was really, really cool to see the SCN2A example with the company Praxis, right? So information actually being used towards a study, a clinical study. Could you maybe talk a little bit more about that example? Was there already pre-existing interest from a company, or maybe do you have an example where a company came in and developed interest in one of the other disorders that's on Ciitizen? Anything?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
We love that question because that's what we're all about. It's not just helping communities that already have research and industry interest, but helping communities who don't have any get that interest. What I will say is with Ciitizen, this data and your choice to, if you choose again, to participate in research and put your identified data towards research, helps de-risk the drug development process significantly, right? Because there starts to be data out there. A lot of industry partners might not dip their toe in the water because they just don't know. There's not enough to know whether it's going to be a fit for their business model. And I hate to say it that way, but they are a business, so they need to make those types of decisions. A great example is a few of them, but the KCNT1 Epilepsy Foundation partnered with Ciitizen, gosh, like from our inception. It's been a number of years now that we've been working with them. When they started with us, there was no interest from industry partners, no interest from research. We built a cohort of, I think we are over 70 patients right now. It's a very rare neurological disorder for the KCNT1 community. We have over 5 partners, active partners, either that we've delivered data to, or that we're in the process of contracting with, or that are researchers that are using the data to drive insights. And they're starting to characterize the disease, understand the burden on the community, understand more about the seizures and the prevalence. So it is an example like that. Same thing with the SYNGAP1 community, where we went from 0 to 60 in terms of the data, the breadth, the quality, and then the interest from the community around, just because of once you have the baseline of data, then industry partners and researchers have something to work with. And that's huge. And something that we're really intent on driving with our partners.
That's awesome to hear about. And then I guess on the other side of that, will families that are participating receive any type of information back? Like, for example, if there is interest from a company, would families and or the patient advocacy groups receive information like, so and so requested your data?
Yeah,
Anything
so
like
we work incredibly closely with, obviously, Gabrielle, you and Jennifer, and the advocacy group leads, one to help generate that research interest, and to help connect to industry partners that are interested in data. When we have industry interest, we let you know, and we say, hey, there's industry engagement. This is generally what they're looking for. Of course, we have to work within the confines of NDAs and non-disclosure agreements with the partners, but we are able to share that with you in terms of what that interest looks like and how many, maybe what kind of data that they're looking for. A big benefit of Ciitizen is, I mean, guys, this is your data. So you get to benefit in how it's used, not just from advancing research, but also from any licensing fees that we may charge to industry partners. So if you onboard to Ciitizen and there's an industry or commercial research partner engaged and they license the data for a fee, you get to share in a portion of that revenue. So you'll be notified. Mikkel will send you an email letting you know that, hey, with your consent to participate in Ciitizen research, your data was used recently, and here's a gift card as part of that compensation share model that we have with the patients and the advocacy groups.
amazing, even better.
Mhm.
So those are my list of questions. If anyone online has any other questions that they would like to ask live, now is the time. So go ahead and put it in the chat. I think this is going to be a really great resource for us as we're growing. And I hope that everyone who's watched will sign up. We will be putting this recorded webinar on our webpage linked from YouTube so that you can access it again and be able to sign up, live again through Mikkel's great presentation. I'm not seeing any other questions come in, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. But thank you both so very much for your time today. We're really excited to be partnering with you.
Thanks for having us.